takes control of the phone, basically.
Yeah, I mean it's it's probably a subject that the mainstream consumer doesn't consider much until they see something in the paper, and they don't look at these
But they
issues.
do see it now.
Yeah, they do see it now, but I don't think. I mean, you just have to look at the sales figures of Samsung, for example, to say that it's not really affecting the mindset of the mainstream consumer.
I don't know. Samsung's got okay perception.
Just as an
Actually,
example,
there are other issues now with Samsung doing imitating Apple, and I've listed recently about 3 or 4 things, anti-features that they have. They're going very hostile into the market of locking and region lockdown and DRM and disabling things remotely and a lot of bad things.
But then, can you blame them not in their actions, but why they're doing it? Because they're business and they're making money, and they've got shareholders and they've got board of directors. Yeah, and this is the way businesses operate. This is why the free software is a better model rather than big corporations controlling one product. Yeah, I mean, you look at the Raspberry Pi. Can we ever envisage a time where the manufacturers of Raspberry Pi start producing their little components, encrypt DRM, and it would never happen. It's a computer that people can build and enjoy as a hobby, like computers used to be. So it's the way big business works, and it's the same with bands as well. I know this is slightly a bad example, but if you look at a small band that starts off playing in the pub, they maybe sell a few of their own homemade records. Then they'll go on to put some stuff on YouTube, and then they'll put some stuff out for free, a Creative Commons license or whatever. And then the second they get a contract with Sony or anybody like that, boom, that's it, they're gone. And they're producing completely different stuff and acting in a completely different way. I mean, just look at Metallica, for example. They were very different when they first started to being the pro-copyrights, or I think that's my assessment, pro-copyright group that they are now. I think Lars Ulrich had a lot to say about piracy and copyright. I think he's a staunch supporter, in my opinion, of copyright.
Let me ask you a question. I was thinking this about a couple of hours ago. Since I was talking about labels, now there's this label called pirate, okay? Now, obviously people who are copyright infringers are not pirates, and pirates did exist many years ago. And I read an article, and I don't mean like one of those edgy or marginalized sites, but a fairly good site, which was talking about the grievances of people in Somalia. Specifically, for those who want to read the article, I can provide a link. But the short story is there is dumping of nuclear waste there in the sea next to Somalia. If people look at the map, they'll see that it's an important passage point for those who are going through the Suez Canal. Now, the other thing that happens is they're taking all the fish, so ships from Europe and also from the United States are coming to pick up all the fish. And this, in part, is the cause of starvation, because they depend a lot on fishery. In Somalia, they don't have many green places from which to extract, like, fauna and flora. So basically, let's say that they do have some potentially legitimate concern. Why do we call them pirates? I mean, if you look at how they operate, it's quite different from the way the pirates used to operate before. And so I think we should completely get rid of this notion of using the word pirate. It's become just a label now.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean that's another human trait, isn't it? To put everything into a box and to give it a label. I mean, I can't speak much about Somali people that have been labelled a pirate. However, I think the title pirate for somebody who infringes copyright was something that was adopted by the pirates themselves. I think it was a title used by somebody like the Federation Against Copyright Theft many years ago to describe copyright infringement. I think the name became fashionable and it was adopted by the people committing copyright. Now it's become a sort of cool phrase to be associated with. I mean, Johnny Depp saw to that in the Pirates of the Caribbean. So I think that's certainly why it's related to the copyright industry now. Certainly, I don't think anybody would, if they were infringing copyright, would take offence at being called a pirate. It's certainly not an offensive term.
Well, it depends who's talking. So when you use the word pirate, what you think of, your connotation and your mental association with the word will be different from another person's word. And I was reminded this when I expressed that I, in part, am a hacker. I'm hacking on code. I change code, and in fact, this is what I do in part for a living. And another person says the word hacker, and he kind of opens his head like, "What? You a hacker?" And I'm saying, Yeah, but you probably don't know what the word actually means. And I know Stallman is extremely sensitive when I bring up the word hacker. He knows that I know what it means. However, he's concerned that some of the viewers will be confused by the word, and it's a legitimate concern.
This is something I can never understand. After my days at the Amiga, which was sort of the golden years for me for computing, the terms that we understood by hacker, coder, and cracker was the following. A coder was a programmer, wrote code. The hacker was somebody who broke into systems, brute forcing passwords or whatever. Days of the BBS, it was thing, but yeah, that was what a hacker was, breaking the computer system, war games type thing. And then a cracker was somebody who took, say, one of the latest games and stuck a little intro on the front of it.
Correct. Yeah.
And give you infinite life trainer. So that was the definition that I always understood those.
So the cracker will be the person downloading the thing, or the person who puts it available online with the cracks available.
The cracker would be the person who broke open the game, whatever it was, and stuck the infinite lives at the beginning so you could complete it.
And when these days they say pirates, do they mean the uploader or the downloader? Or both?
That's a very good question.
So a person who goes to YouTube, let's say Bill Gates, he admits doing that, and watches a copyrighted film like Bill Gates does, is he a pirate?
I would suppose if you knowingly infringe the copyright of another, then regardless of whether you uploaded or downloaded, then you would come under the label of pirate, I assume.
Okay.
But that's a question I've never actually considered before. Who's the pirate, the uploader or the downloader?
So in that case, there was a report in excellent website, Torrent Freak, I recommend to everybody, that says I think 37% of the people who are in the industry of asserting copyrights, whatever it is, I suppose they're looking at the very close circles to the MPA, RAA, 37% of them in fact themselves are infringing. By their definition, they are pirates. So here you have over a third of those who are pretending to be against the pirates, actually themselves being so-called pirates. And it's a very interesting story. However, if you're in the UK, and you and I had this discussion before, you might not be able to get to the site because the UK is implementing a set of filters now for the children, of course. Adult children. Because the government.
It's always an emotive word for the children. Yes.
Yeah, for the children. It actually was passed for the children. It's not a joke. It's true. And one of the sites to be censored by some of the ISPs, and one of them that's confirmed to be applicable in this case is Sky, is Torrent Freak, because Torrent Freak is a very, very naughty site. It gives people news, and it gives a different point of view, and that's very, very dangerous. Think about the children. They might have a diverse point of view.
It's probably a good example of how, and I don't want to use the term ignorant, but not to know the mainstream consumers are, because the Pirate Bay has been subjected for many years now to blocks by the ISPs in the UK. And during that time, the Pirate Bay has still been running quite happily because people in the know that you can go to it via a proxy. But the fact that they still keep these blocks in place, to me, shows that the mainstream users, and I wouldn't know if, I assume this Pirate Bay is still up and running before I continue on and don't embarrass myself, but the mainstream user has been prevented by this block, which is a really simple block and can be circumvented with just a quick Google search, but it seems to have well, certainly the people that I spoke with said they couldn't access the Pirate Bay. But having read Torrent Freak, it's still apparently still going. But there's plenty of ways you can get into it without even having any computer knowledge at all.
So maybe Torrent Freak is a gateway drug.
Yes, possibly.
It will lead people to, and then maybe the City of London also will just pull out the main Torrent Freak at some stage, because they like to do it without any trial.
I challenged the Federation Against Software Theft on a tweet recently. They made some silly remark about copyright, and I challenged them back, and we had a very short conversation. Yet they didn't respond back to me on my final comment, and that was my novel's hopefully coming out soon. I'm not going to pimp it on here because I refuse to use this as an advertising tool, but I'll just say my book at the time is coming out very shortly. However, I'd be quite happy here and now, and people can hold me to this later, for people to pirate it. Why? Because I wrote the book for the specific reason for people to read it and hopefully laugh at it, because it's so if somebody pirated it, I would take that as a compliment, and also the fact that people that do tend to pirate these things tend to be future customers and future people who say, "Yeah, I like his work. I've tried a bit of it for free. Now I want to buy something of his."
But you're an author. You're a producer.
Mhm.
You're not a publisher. You're not the copyright monopoly or the copyright cartel or the copyright whatever you want to call it. So these people are